For centuries, the vastness of Russia has been its greatest defense. Napoleon froze, Hitler burned. The distance, the sheer impossible scale of it, was an unbreakable shield. But in the summer of 2026, that shield has been shattered. On July 6th, the world woke up to a new reality. Ukrainian forces struck Russia's largest oil refinery in Omsk, nearly 2,500 kilometers from the border. That's further than London is from Moscow. It's the deepest strike of this entire war. Hello everyone, and welcome to our new episode. This was not just another drone attack. This showed that the war in Europe is fundamentally changing because Russia in response unleashed more than 400 aerial weapons on Kyiv in a single night, and Ukraine admitted they were not able to intercept a single one of those missiles. It's obvious that right after the end of the war in Iran, the US and Nato turned their attention to Russia and have increased attacks multiple times. It seems to me they are in a rush to bring some changes, either in Iran or in Russia. Russia, which is the world's third largest oil exporter, is now rationing fuel, importing gasoline from India, and watching as its economy buckles under the weight of war. And now, analysts in Moscow and Washington are asking a terrifying question. Has Russia been pushed into a corner with no way out but to strike directly at NATO? Welcome to the edge of the chaos. This is the escalation nobody wanted, and a war no one might be able to stop. Let's start with the strike that changed everything. The Omsk refinery is not just any factory. It processes over 21 million tons of crude oil annually, accounting for roughly 10% of Russia's total refining capacity. Ukraine's general staff confirmed that Omsk was the last of Russia's 11 largest gasoline-producing refineries to be hit. According to a Financial Times analysis, Ukrainian drones strike Russian oil refineries at least 200 times in just the first half of 2026. The result? A catastrophe for Russia. Even Vladimir Putin admitted on state television that these, quote, terrorist attacks on our territory have created shortages, forcing the government to import fuel. After 4 years, this war has no momentum. With current momentum, it takes years for Russia to reach Kyiv or to take over other major cities. The economy is shattering, and no way out seems to be in sight for either side. This brings us to the most dangerous development of all, the debate which is raging inside Kremlin. Russian analysts are furious. They see Ukraine's deep strikes, enabled by NATO weapons and US intelligence, as an existential threat, and they are pointing out to a model for how to respond: Iran. When the United States attacked Iran, Tehran didn't just defend its borders, it struck back directly at US bases across the Arab world. Now Russian nationalist commentators are asking, why shouldn't we do the same? Konstantin Malafeyev, a prominent nationalist figure, asked, what else needs to happen before we start fighting for real? Why are we not using nuclear weapon? Another influential nationalist blogger, Yuri Baranchik, wrote, the start of systematic airstrikes on Moscow by the Ukrainians would have been impossible without the go-ahead from Washington. We've got no choice. Either we'll get the better of Trump or he'll get the better of us. And these are not just words. Satellite imagery shows Russia has built up its armed presence along its borders with Finland and other EU countries. The head of Swedish military intelligence has described this as a preparation for a possible confrontation with NATO. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Alexander Grushko has stated that NATO requires confrontation to justify its existence, and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warned that a direct clash between NATO and Russia could rapidly escalate into a nuclear exchange. Western intelligence agencies are taking these threats seriously. The Institute for Study of War, a leading US think tank, warns that Russia's drone incursions, electronic warfare, and aerospace violations are not isolated incidents. They are part of a Phase Zero campaign designed to shape the battlefield before any direct confrontation with NATO. US intelligence has reportedly warned that Russia could be preparing an armed provocation on Polish territory, possibly strikes on critical infrastructure using missiles and drones, or even limited ground incursions. The goal, according to these assessments, would be to test NATO's resolve, expose the alliance as a paper tiger, and force the West to suspend aid to Ukraine. So where does that leave us? As I see it, for America or its European allies, it's not important. It doesn't matter what happens to the Ukrainian soil or infrastructure. Their goal is to isolate Russia, just as they tried to do with Iran. When that failed in Iran, they turned their attention to Russia. This is precisely the mistake the West and America made with Iran. They thought Iran would surrender through a massive military buildup. It didn't. They thought it would surrender after strikes on its leadership and infrastructure. It didn't. They thought Iran wouldn't strike bases in neighboring countries. It did. The more pressure they applied, the harsher Iran's reaction became, proving it was ready to fight them to the bitter end. That was when they realized their approach was wrong and they backed off. Now the exact same pattern is being applied to Russia. I know these wars are different. Iran was attacked and forced to a war by America and Israel, but Russia is the aggressor here. Though the West thinks that with these attacks and pressure, Putin will surrender, it's baffling that they think this way. This is precisely the path they took with Iran. Only this time, instead of Arab territory, European soil is at risk, and instead of ballistic missiles, there is serious risk of nuclear war. Is there anyone out there who learns from past mistakes? Russia has shown restraint so far, but if these Ukrainian strikes enabled by European weapons continue, Russia may have no choice but to follow the Iranian playbook, strike NATO bases directly, make all of Europe taste the war, and force the West into a defensive position. This would mark the beginning of a big confrontation, one that has played out between Russians and Europeans for centuries. And for America, it would be a positive development. It means more European dependence on Washington, more revenue for the US defense industry, while America sits on the sidelines, much as it has for the last century. Combined with the ongoing conflicts in the Middle East, this could evolve into a big-scale global war. The transition from a unipolar world to a multipolar will not be peaceful until at least the end of this decade, and through the remainder of the Donald Trump's presidency, the world will remain in turmoil. Borders may shift, new powers will rise. Let us hope this does not lead to a nuclear war, but the aggressive posture of NATO and the West against its rivals leaves the world with few options but great wars. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to share your comments.